Welcome to Watch the Bookerman and to part 6 of this 10-part series as TNA prepares for the arrival of Paul Heyman at the beginning of 2010. This show, the first show of December, continues our build towards Final Resolution, the last pay-per-view of the decade, and begins with Desmond Wolfe in the ring surrounded by a steel cage, the 6 sides of steel, and he cuts a promo about this apparently being his fate at Final Resolution. Kurt Angle has got another match against him despite the fact that Wolfe has beat him twice in a row. And this time, they're going to face in a 3 stages of hell. What that means is that the first fall is a pinfall, the second fall is a submission, and the third fall, which Wolfe claims it won't be necessary, will see the winner leave the cage to win the match. Kurt Angle comes out, but the door is locked. He wants his hands on Desmond Wolfe, and while Wolfe is smug in the ring, Kurt begins to scale the cage and climbs in. The two brawl, and Kurt gets the better of Desmond Wolfe, leaving the ring standing tall. The first time really that he's got the better of Desmond Wolfe. I did think about having Wolfe leave Angle laying once again, but it felt like it was definitely getting too much, and Kurt gets a little bit back here as we continue this storyline. We then come back after the break, and Foley is on the phone talking about the arrival of Paul Heyman coming next month. Kurt Angle walks in, and he said he's tired of waiting, he's sick of this smug guy, Desmond Wolfe, and he wants him tonight. Mick Foley says that he's got a better idea. Kurt Angle is going to let out a lot of that frustration tonight, but he'd prefer it to be on Dr. Stevie. That sets up a match later tonight. It's a fairly obvious, straightforward squash match we're going to have, but it is going to be the main event because we're setting up for a big angle at the end between Desmond Wolfe and Kurt Angle, so that is what we're more sticking around for. Chris Sabin then defeats Doug Williams in 6 minutes and 46 seconds, the two with exactly the same performance, and despite Rob Terry being at ringside, the Motor City Machine Guns have now both beaten Doug Williams. Magnus comes in the ring to confront them. He's saying that they might have beat Doug, but when it comes to the tag team title match, Magnus and Williams are a better tag team than them. As he has their attention, Rob Terry comes from behind and jumps the two men, the British Invasion, leaving Motor City Machine Guns laying in the ring. We then get a segment backstage where Daniels is questioned, does he have something to do with Tom Cole's return to TNA, but Daniels denies it and says that he's going to talk later about all of that. He wants to clear this up once and for all, but he does say he has nothing to do with Tom Cole coming back to the company. Daniels is then approached by the Beautiful People, who have an idea for a film that they'd like to do with him. He walks off with them. He seems to be totally into the fact that the Beautiful People seem into him. Hamada then defeats Sarita, one half of the Knockouts tag team titles. She now has wins over both of them. That is a little bit samey to the first match where both members of the Motor City Machine Guns now have victories over Doug Williams, albeit in reverse. Hamada doesn't have a partner, but she's definitely in line if she chooses to find one because she's beaten both of the Knockouts tag team champions. Pope talks to Suicide before his match with Homicide. Hernandez, Morgan and Pope want his help against Team 3D, Rhino and Jesse Neal, but Suicide is a little bit non-committal and walks off because he has more important things to deal with, such as his match with Suicide, which he wins in 7 minutes and 58. It's a decent match, but the rivalry is far from over as Homicide attacks Suicide post-match and tries to remove his mask to reveal his true identity. D'Angelo De Niro runs down to make the save and stops Homicide from pulling the mask off. There is then a handshake between the two men. Is this the sign that Suicide will join their team at Final Resolution for that 8-man tag team match? The second hour begins with Daniels coming down and he once again denies everything to do with Tom Cole. He had nothing to do with it. Tom Cole seems to be back for AJ. They have unfinished business and that's nothing to do with him. He's only focused on Final Resolution and becoming the next TNA World Heavyweight Champion. AJ Styles comes out. He's so conflicted about what's happening. He doesn't like the tone of Daniels' voice. He doesn't trust him really. Daniels says that Tom Cole would have come for him next. He was taking out AJ Styles. Then he came for Samoa Joe 2 weeks ago on Impact. Daniels was the next victim. They're all in this together and they shouldn't be looking at each other. They should be dealing with Tom Cole. Samoa Joe comes out and he's not buying any of Daniels' excuses and he tells Daniels to get in contact with his buddy Tom Cole because he wants to fight him in Tom Cole's return match next week. So we're continuing that storyline there. Joe Tom Cole will take place next week and we're still not really sure what Daniels is doing. Is he a heel? Is he a face? He's very much treading the line at the minute, but his actions and his tone are suggesting that he isn't really to be trusted. He's being a little bit more smarmy, a little bit more cocky, and the fact that he has helped in victory over Abyss during this match. He's more than happy when Dr. Stevie comes out and distracts Abyss. Stevie goes after Mick Foley again. This causes Abyss to turn his attention away from that, and an Angel's Wings it says, but I don't know if Daniels could lift Abyss up, but whatever it is, Daniels picks up another victory, continuing to build momentum ahead of that final resolution match. Daniels celebrates after the match, and it's a big, arrogant, over-the-top celebration, which, considering he pretty much got the win handed to him, again, it plays into the fact that he's been a bit of a dick. Homicide helped Stevie during the match. I forgot to mention that because I don't think the note showed up, but I did put that in. What actually happened was Stevie came out to go after Mick Foley. Foley managed to get the better of Richards, only for Homicide to come out and take Mick Foley down from behind. They had that little interaction the other week that this is the follow-up of. That is what distracted Abyss and therefore led to Daniels' victory. It's now Dr. Stevie and Homicide associated, seemingly only due to a mutual disdain towards Mick Foley and Abyss, but that is now the story. Instead of Raven coming back and being with Dr. Stevie, I've put Homicide in there. It's really just a placeholder. It's a short-term storyline. It's a short-term association, but we wanted that match at Final Resolution, the Foley's Funhouse, and Homicide is just taking Raven's place. Desmond Wolfe cuts a promo, and this is where we promote the fact that there will be that big confrontation following the main event. He's coming for Kurt Angle. He put him down earlier in the night in the first segment of the show, but he will not stay down. Unlike Kurt Angle, when Wolfe comes for Angle and gets his hands on him tonight, Angle will not be getting back up. We then get a video package and also a sort of sit-down interview with the Lashley family, Bobby and Crystal. They talk about Lashley's tournament win last week, about the MMA career of Bobby Lashley. He's currently undefeated, and that is something we really want to focus on and tap into as we continue to build his storyline, where he's going for AJ Styles or Daniels' World Heavyweight Championship at some point in 2010, as well as all his athletic accomplishments and the fact that at Final Resolution he wants to fight Scott Steiner once again. Next week, however, there will be a mixed tag team match, Bobby Lashley and Crystal versus Scott Steiner and any knockout of his choosing. Crystal, not really a in-ring competitor, but she is willing to enter the ring to back up her husband. We then get a short match between D'Angelo De Niro and Jesse Neal, where De Niro wins by DQ when Jesse Neal brings a chair into play. This leads to a 4-on-1 beatdown, Team 3D, Rhino and Jesse Neal laying into D'Angelo De Niro. Morgan and Hernandez come out to help their partner, but they are outnumbered 4-3. This leads to a lights out. Suicide appears in the ring and helps the faces D'Angelo De Niro, Suicide, Hernandez and Matt Morgan, a fairly odd, unlikely grouping, but they have come together to go against the hardcore ECW alumni and Jesse Neal. This is followed by the ODB Tara Trash Talk segment, which gets very heated in the build-up to their Final Resolution match. ODB gets a little bit personal with Tara's questions, talks about her past in WWE and suggests that she can't hang with the knockouts. Tara takes offence to this and says that she left WWE to prove herself against the knockouts. She doesn't disrespect anybody in the knockouts division, but she knows she is more than capable of defeating ODB. Tension's clearly building due to the fact that this match is so important to both of the women involved. Kurt Angle then defeats Dr. Stevie in a very poor main event. Really, I did expect that because it is a completely one-sided squash. Kurt Angle is furious before the match. There is so much going on to piss him off, particularly Desmond Wolfe. He's had a bad couple of months since Wolfe came to the company, but he gets some sort of cathartic pleasure from defeating Dr. Stevie and making him tap out to an ankle lock. Sustained a stabbed in this match. I hope that's not a long-term... That seems ridiculous. I cannot fathom what that's supposed to mean. I'd be very annoyed if that keeps him out of the pay-per-view, let's put it that way. Desmond Wolfe comes out right after the match and he wants to attack Kurt Angle, but this time Kurt Angle is very much ready for whatever he has planned. Desmond Wolfe and Kurt Angle brawl in the ring, an intense brawl to end Impact. The two are pulled apart by security by the end, but the idea is that it's just putting over how heated this rivalry is. An absolutely insane brawl. They go all around the ringside area, into guardrails, into the steel steps, near the announcer's table. It's a segment that the WWE do with Brock Lesnar quite a lot, the brawl, pull apart, and then brawl again, pull apart, brawl. The idea that they simply can't be kept apart, the rivalry is so intense that they're going to keep fighting into the night. Taz and TNA sign off, saying that these two could be fighting forever, and we'll follow it up next week on Impact because we are out of time. So it's an okay episode. It's pretty easy to increase our popularity in this mod because pretty much everybody is very, very good. Kurt Angle sustaining a stabbed